All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May edition of the AISIG Special Interest Group. As we have been doing for the past year or so, I'm going to take this time at the beginning of the meeting to ask if there are any folks who would like to introduce themselves, particularly if you're new to the group or if this is the first meeting you've attended, or if we haven't met you before, please feel free to unmute yourself and say hello.
Am I on mute?
You're unmuted.
Now we hear you.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Rick. Yeah, I'm new. I moved to Tucson about 8 months ago from New England. Two reasons: humidity and the skyline out here. I was at Tampa a few days ago, and just that, and I do my backyard, but just the horizon really blew me away. Oh, 360 degrees. But I just started astrophotography. I've made a living, I still do, doing photography, but this is my first time astrophotography.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to Tucson.
Thanks. Thanks, yeah.
I think it might have been cooler here today than it was in New England.
I think it was a little cooler in New England. I'm going back there next weekend, and I've been monitoring the weather. I did do a job there, a photo job in February, March, and it wasn't warmer than it is here, that's for sure.
So what do you got in the background there? Looks like an ASI Air on about a 100mm telescope.
Yeah, that's my first scope, and I use Cyril, and I plan on starting Pixon site in 2 weeks when I get back I've got to go back to Massachusetts. That's a 127 FDL 100 glass, and it's a Skywatcher 150i strainwave mount. I bought it used for Cloudy Nights, and for like 1,500 via OTA, and then now I look at it right now, it's the same price because the tariffs are gone, I guess. So the same price new.
Interesting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Richard, what kind of photography are you into?
I'm not necessarily into. I've been lighting my entire life, and motion picture and fine art photography. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. So that's what I've been doing. Shooting movies, mostly indies, and the job in February and March back in Massachusetts in the hills was fine art photography setups, very large cinematic setups.
Nice.
Grip, electric, cruise, art department, everything, full board.
Well, welcome to the group, and please don't hesitate to speak up with questions, and don't think for a minute that your questions are too basic to ask, because we've all been there.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. Yeah, I am anxious to start Pixon site just for more, a little more articulate workflow, basically. I do like Cyril, but
one recommendation, Richard, because I started out about 3.5 years ago in a hobby, and I knew nothing about. I have an amateur photographer background. I've been doing that for 25 years, but I knew nothing about Pixon site. First time I looked at the screen, it's the most user-unfriendly screen you'll ever see in your life. Just a blank screen. But once you learn the workflow, it's not so difficult. You just got to learn it. But I took a course with it was an Adam Block course. Adam Block is local to Tucson.
okay.
He's an astronomer, well known in
Yeah.
astrophotography, and he has a website called AdamBlockStudios.com. And what I did when I started out is I didn't know whether I wanted to use PixInsight, but I got a 45-day free trial on PixInsight, and I spent $60 on his fast track training course for it. And I will tell you, it was the biggest bang for your buck you can get for a course. You learn all the basics, and it gives you a start. You get a basic workflow out of it. You're still going to have to learn a lot more beyond that, but that'll give you a kickstart and get you set to a solid foundation using the product.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I've heard his name. I've seen his name on YouTube. So,
One more tip, when you turn on his videos, set the speed to 1.25.
yeah, thanks.
Just have a lot of caffeine.
To put a positive spin on it, his philosophy is you should understand all of the why behind everything he tells you.
Yeah,
Great,
That can
good,
take a while.
good, yeah,
very detailed oriented.
cool.
All right, any other new folks on board?
I think Matthew needs to tell us about this poem that he posted in the chat. Matt? Maybe later.
Yes,
Oh, there you are. Tell us about this poem that you posted.
well, I was playing around with Chat GBT and I asked it to write a poem about the club. And I think it did a pretty good job. I sent it to be published in the newsletter too. It gets me how AI can be so eloquent. Because I'm certainly not a poet.
Thanks for sharing.
Well, we're looking for it.
It's in the chat
Oh, okay,
and presumably will be in the bulletin.
okay. We also, at the beginning of each meeting, ask if there are any beginner type questions. So if you consider yourself a newbie or a beginner and you have a question, this is your chance to drop it on the group. Any beginner questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment to take opportunity to
Oh, okay.
thank Jeff for his helping and getting me Pixin site and getting me started on a footing. So I'm still going through the starter documents, Jeff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Coming along really fast, too.
All right, any others? All right. Well, our main focus tonight was to allow each of you to put some kudos on your fellow imagers from the group. And we did have a few people volunteer to do that. So the idea behind this was to be able to recognize images that you thought were particularly good from someone other than yourself. And so I thought what I'll do is I'll kick this off to kind of give you a feel for what I was hoping to have each of you do. And we've got a couple people who've emailed me who said they have images, and we'll let them share them as well. So let me start off here by sharing my screen. All right, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Wow.
All right, good. So this is an image from a few months back, and it was from somebody whose name you may recognize, Tom Eby, who's participated in our group for some time, and he sends me a lot of images, and a lot of them end up in the bulletin. So this is one that he sent that didn't actually make it to the bulletin, but I was suitably impressed with it, and I thought I'd share it with you. And this was made with his RC8 and a ZWO 2600 mono camera. And the thing that probably will stick out first of all.
Hey, Greg, hang on a second. Paul, please mute your microphone.
Okay.
Try again, Greg.
Try again, Greg.
Not yet,
Not
Paul.
yet, Paul.
He's
You gotta
muted.
mute your mic. I'm not sure why that. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, this was made
Anyway,
with
this was
a
made with a
Paul,
oh,
mute.
mute.
Testing. Okay, Greg.
okay. This was made with his 2600 mono camera, but the thing that probably will strike you first of all is it's a monochrome image. There's no filters used here. And that's what impressed me as well. I'm a big fan of monochrome when it plays a role in the image, and I think this is a good example of that. So the other thing that impressed me about it, that this is there's actually two ARPs here, and it turns out that Halton ARP published this in his Peculiar Galaxy catalog, but he made a couple of mistakes, and Tom took this image and pointed out those mistakes. So one of them is that he considered the companion galaxy to the spiral there as an elliptical, but it's actually a spiral. So that was one error. And the other error is the elliptical galaxy over on the other side was supposed to have a bright companion on the arm, but it doesn't. So a couple of ARPs and a couple of mistakes, and this particular image happens to show both of them. The other thing that impressed me about it was the detail that was captured. Probably more detail than Halton ARP got with the 200-inch telescope or the 48-inch Schmidt camera that he had access to. So again, this is one of my favorite images for the reasons that I have just shared with you. And I'll stop sharing at this point. All right. Next person on my list was a volunteer. It was Alan Force. So Alan, I think you're with us. If you'd like to go ahead and share your screen and tell us about the image that you think is pretty good.
Alan, you need to unmute.
How's that?
We got you. Good.
Okay, do you see the image?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is Randy Smith's, and it's SH2-224. They call it the Rice Hat Nebula. A rather challenging one, I should imagine, but I really liked the way, for one thing, there's a lot of stars in this, but they're all very small and nicely controlled. I tend to not have stars quite as good. And in the process of taking them out with Star Exterminator and putting them back in, never do seem to get them quite like this. But it's just a beautifully composed image. A lot of detail in it, a lot of color. Most of it red is standard emission nebula. But he's also got, if you look here, I don't know, can you see my cursor? He does get the blue in here, which is not sure how he managed to do all of that to get it as brought out as nicely as it was. The blue and the other details in the contrasting reds without getting any artifacts. So I think this was just a beautiful image to start with, but it was really a masterful job of processing it to keep the balance the way it is.
Very good. Good choice.
Okay, that's pretty much all I've got for it. I guess I could
You can
unshare
unshare.
my screen now and you can move on to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Alan, for sharing that with us. I also had a volunteer named Jim Long. I think he's on with us this evening. So, Jim, you had an image you wanted to delve
Well,
into?
that's definitely my name. All right, could you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, so I ran into a gentleman named Vince Verna at the get together that we had for the volunteers at what's the name of that place? The brewery, the Barrio Brewery, about a week and a half ago, and he had this on his phone, and I said, "Wow, that's an amazing image. Can I use it for the ASIG group meeting?" And he gave me permission to use it, and he emailed it to me. But the reason that I found this really significant is I do a lot of outreach stuff, and I use my C8 and a couple of wide angle 2-inch eyepieces. And occasionally we run into a planet that is transiting Jupiter during the star party, and it's a huge crowd pleaser for people to try to spot the shadow. And you get about half the people that do and half that don't. So it's pretty fun to do it. So that's why I said this is pretty amazing. Not only because it shows the shadow, I'm going to assume that's Io, because Io is usually the one that I see the most, and how he framed it with the great red spot there at the same time. I said how unlikely it would be to get all of that at the right time in the right place with a clear sky. And I said that's pretty amazing. So that's why I picked this one and why it's meaningful to me, because I've actually seen that several times myself. So I've never imaged it yet, but I want to.
Jim, do you know any of the details about his image, a scope or camera or
He
anything?
he uses a C8, and he does not use a Hyperstar. I don't remember what camera he said he was using. It may have, I don't think it was a DSLR. Yeah, I don't remember the exact camera it was, but I know he has a C8 up on his roof. He has a flat roof, and that's where he runs it from up there. And I don't know how many frames or any of that stuff, but he just showed it on his phone, and he was pretty proud of it. So I said, I'll love to talk about it.
Excellent.
I wish I had gathered more information for you, but next
Okay.
time.
Jeff, Jeff Rothstein, I think you had an image you were going to share with us.
I do, and the author being here, I will allow him rebuttal time if he feels it necessary. Let's see if this works. All right. Visible?
Yes.
So this is a very recent image of Rho Ophiuchi taken by Dave Stern. This is a single night of data. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, with an SQA 55 and a 2600 MC and no filter.
Correct. That is correct.
So this one, I mean, I loved thinking about this topic tonight because there's so many different images to look through, so many of you that are just wonderful. But this one jumped out at me, and I thought I would use. I was thinking about it in terms of, I don't know if you've watched Lusa, the Sky Koala lady, who was the keynote speaker at NEAF this spring, gave a talk about what makes great astrophotographs, and she had 4 pillars that she said any great astrophoto has to have. It's got to have signal. It's got to have truth, it's got to have balance, and it has to have composition. Signal, you clearly there's loads of signal here, especially from a single night. I find a lot of images of the Roe area that I see have kind of a washed outlook, and oftentimes there's the blue region and there's the yellow region and there's the red region with not a lot between them. And maybe that's light pollution. I'm not sure, but this one there's a load of good signal. Truth, we are depicting real astrophysical objects. We want to try to show them as they are. Although undoubtedly we amplify the intensity and the color to make them more visible than they might be in real life. But with a camera with no filters, and Dave, you didn't do anything that would have changed the natural light that was coming in. So I think you checked the box here. Balance, Lucia describes is knowing how to process and knowing when to stop. There's certainly such a thing. We've all seen overcooked images. And this one, I think, is beautifully processed. But of all the pillars, the one that I think just blew me away is this composition. It's oriented the way many row images are. I believe north is up. But there is something about the framing of this one that leads the eye in from the bright lower yellow region, angling up to the top, swirling into the blue area. Then you notice the smaller reflection nebulas in the middle and the red on the right, and the globular cluster, M4, I think it is, down at the bottom. So I think from a composition standpoint, this was just masterful, and I really enjoyed looking at it. I like the way that Antares seems to be illuminating the entire lower left of the nebula from the bottom, which of course it is. But not all images. This one, if you look at it in a little more detail than you can see on the screen, there's depth to the image. There's an area, if you can see my mouse, between these two clouds, dark clouds here, where it's almost like you're looking through a keyhole to space beyond. Anyway, I just thought it was a lovely, lovely image. And Dave, well done.
Well, thanks, Jeff. And I have to admit, I've been imaging this for the past like 5 or 6 nights now, and I'm getting up to 19 hours of integration time. Because this is one of the objects I've always wanted to image, but I never had wide enough of a refractor, and I still don't know how to do a mosaic. So when I got the 55, this is what I had in mind. And I always wait till it's too late, and then it's monsoon season and you can't catch it. So I figure since I really don't have the reach yet for a lot of the galaxies with the setup I have, I was going to focus on this. I actually did a little finishing processing with Lightroom Mobile in Mesa last week when I was up there watching my granddaughter. And I had nothing else to do at the time. She was taking a nap, and I figured, well, I'll just play around with it, see what I can do with it. So I did kind of tweak it a little bit, but what I found is by getting more data, the signal to noise ratio is improving. I'm getting a lot more detail. So I'll be hopefully publishing the finished image of probably later in the week or the following week. But it's really changed a lot since I published this one.
You got the advantage over those of us living north of town. Um, I don't think I could shoot this from Oro Valley,
Yeah, well, I'm
even
in a
assuming I
portal.
had a telescope or was willing to
Yeah.
do, yeah, because I'd be shooting straight into the light dome.
Yeah, this was good because it was right within a couple of days of the new moon, so the moon wasn't coming up till much later, till after like 3:30 or something. So I set the timer on the ASIR to start shooting it around midnight and got a good 3.5 hours before astronomical daylight. But now I can shoot it tonight. I'm going to shoot at 11 o'clock. Set the timer for that, and I just shoot it in my sleep, and then the next day I just add the frames, and uh, I'll probably have about 300 or so frames, about 180 seconds each total that I'll be processing. So I think tonight will be the last opportunity I have for this month.
Excellent.
But
David,
thanks for all your compliments. I appreciate it.
could I ask
Well,
you a question, David? This is Jim Long.
Sure. Sure.
So the framing here, is this Antares and M4 in the bottom down here?
Yes.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
an
it is.
amazing composition.
Yeah, and Tari's on the bottom left, and I believe M4 is on the right. And um, it's and you know how I get my compositions? I go into Astrobin, and before I even start imaging the object, I search for the object in Astrobin. I see what other people have done, and then I'll add the filter to it for the object. Any objects of this type that have gotten an award, just to see what is liked by the people who judge these things. And
Hmm.
you pick up some interesting ideas that you wouldn't have done maybe on your own. So I saw something similar to this, a similar comp. I've seen a few of these in this type of composition. Most of the compositions I've seen have been horizontal.
I was going to say, Dave, when I was planning my minute or two of remarks here, yeah, I found some other images online, one of which is Adam Block's, and he's selling it. It's horizontal. I think it's more
Ah,
powerful vertical.
yeah. It's almost like
Dave,
it's a face on the top. It's kind
yeah,
of weird.
Dave, did you get this framing the first go? When I shoot something like this, sometimes it might take 2 or 3 nights to get the camera rotation and get the centering where it's optimal. Uh, did this one come out the first time, or did you
You
have
know,
to?
I always set my camera at zero, I guess, where, everything's kind of like you see the back of the camera, everything's like the plugs are on the bottom or the top,
Right.
and I'm not moving it vertically. It's always horizontal in nature by the sensor. And then if I need to adjust it, I will. But what I did was I used Sky Atlas and I did some quick framing with it, and then set that as part of my plan. And it's all I did was I rotated the image. So I didn't shoot it like this. After I processed it, I decided what's the best composition going to look like, and I kept rotating it till I got what I liked.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thank
Um,
you very much.
I got a question too. Where did you shoot this from?
From my backyard, I shoot all my images from my backyard.
Where at?
Well, I'm in Vail, Del Webb in
Oh,
Vail.
for
Yeah.
heaven's sake. I
The
live right
only
near you.
yeah, I know. I didn't mention it before. The only challenge I have facing north, there is a elementary school, and they have their parking lots on till 11 o'clock at night,
Paul, can
Monday
you
through
mute your mic
Friday.
again, please?
Yeah. So Monday through Friday, their parking lots are light, and even though they're shielded and they're conforming to all the dark sky ordinances, they can have them on to 11, and their luminance allowance is a lot more than residential because they're commercial. So, and then in the weekends they've been nice to me and they did me a favor and they shut them off at 10. But that's the only challenge I have. But that's why I use when I can use filters, I use them. But in this case, because it's a reflection nebula, I didn't, and I was really surprised. I did have a lot of gradients, but I used Graxpert to remove them, and it did a pretty good job.
Is this one exposure time?
This was, I believe, I got like 50, 180-second frames for this one. I can, with the window of opportunity I have to shoot this right now, it's about uh, 50 to 60 frames that you can get. Now, lately, I've been getting about 70. But then when I do frame selection and PixInsight, I'm cutting a few of them. I'm calling some of them. But for the most part, I've been getting around 50 to 60 frames a night.
Beautiful.
It's going to be, hopefully, you'll see more detail when I'm done shooting tonight. I'm going to combine them all together and see what happens. I try to do a batch process each night just to see how it's progressing. But I could tell there's a lot more detail, and I don't have to stretch the thing to death either. When you have little signal to work with, there's not a lot to work with. But when you have a lot of signal and a lot of details from taking a lot of images, The image is less noisy, of course, and then you don't have to stretch it to death. And what I've also found for any image, if I go really deep, I typically go really deep with my images overall. If I'll spend for 1 month, I'll spend it on one object only, and I'll just shoot as much as I can of it. You don't have to do a lot of saturation either. Usually, if you have enough details through a lot of signal to noise ratio, you don't have to do a lot of saturation, I found.
Looks like a Marvel supervillain.
Yeah,
A
it's kind of
vertical
cool. Looks like a
orientation.
head on the top.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, back to you.
Okay. Uh, any other volunteers that didn't email me ahead of time?
I have
I
one.
I have one at least.
David Stern, you were first.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if I can go here. Can you see the screen?
There it is.
Yes.
Great. Okay, um, so I know Alex is not here tonight. Maybe you'll hear the recording. But this image, out of all of his images, and he's been doing a lot of creative stuff lately, with his images. And I know he just got a scope recently, and I think he's planning on putting it in a remote observatory. But he gets a lot of his images through various sites, and I'm trying to remember where this one is. Let me see where this is coming from. Whoops, hold on. Still there? Great. This was from Deep Sky West, and I've actually gotten this particular image set from Telescope Live. It's a southern target. We can't image this particular object, uh, but the amount of detail that you see, what I like about it is the composition, but also the colors and the detail that he's able to get out of these images is unbelievable. And I don't know, I have no idea how he does it, but to me, this looks like a painting, and that's what I like about it. And just for reference, this is NGC 3324. It's in the Carina Nebula area in the southern hemisphere, and it was named after, I believe, a poet. Trying to remember her name. Oh, Gabriel Mistral Nebula. It's named after her, and it was based on a photograph of hers, and this is what it looks like. You could see her profile in the actual nebulosity on the center, and that's all I have to say on it. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I think Paul Lorenz, I think you had one to share.
Yeah, I have a galaxy. Some an image I recently took of the galaxy NGC 2903 in Leo. Let's see. I'm going to hit share here. Okay. Let's see. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Center layout. Okay, I clicked on it here. Can you see it?
No.
You're not sharing.
Oh, hit share. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This object was taken just last month out at CAC with a 6-inch refractor. I'm working at 980 millimeters, and with a new camera, it's the ZWO 585 Air, and it uses just 2.9 micron pixels. And this is the kind of resolution you can get with that. I was especially pleased with the way this turned out. It's approximately 4 hours worth of 3-minute exposures. It was about 80 frames. And anyway, a lot of things came out. You can really see the detail in here. Not only that, even the detail in these outer spiral arms, which are actually quite faint visually. And then you can see it's a little bit of a bar. So there's a little bit of starburst in this galaxy. This is one of the galaxies that Messier missed but should have gotten. And it's right at the head. It's near the star Algeba in Western Leo. It's right over the head of Leo, where this galaxy is in the sky. So I thought this was just like what I said. It was taken with an Astrotech AT-152, so 152 millimeters, triplet lens. The official, I should say, the native f ratio was f8, but this was working with a field flattener reducer, which gives f6.4. So 80 by 3-minute exposures. Pixin sight was used. Yes, I did use blur exterminator, noise exterminator, but not star exterminator. I've been having difficulties with that lately. When I use it, oftentimes it loses some of the original data, and after. But with this, I used mostly. I used also local. What is that? LHE, local histogram equalization. They call it, to get more depth with, and that's how we're able to pick out all these and bring out all these details here. And so you can see here in the nucleus, I mean, this is just amazing. You can blow this up. This is approximately 12 arc seconds long. So just a fifth of a degree from one end of the galaxy to the other on a long dimension. So you can see this new camera. I was really impressed with it because I was hearing that they typically don't recommend using it with anything over 500 or 600 millimeters focal length. Well, this definitely worked with 980. It's just under 1,000 millimeters. So I just thought I'd show you what I got, one example of my work that I'm doing. I was going to show you also this galaxy, NGC 4449, the so-called box galaxy. The length of this is about 6.2 arc minutes. So just over a tenth of a degree long, but look at the detail I got. This is a starburst galaxy in Canis Venatici.
Well, we're not seeing the other image, and I guess the question I have for you is,
Oh,
do you have an image that somebody else has taken that you particularly admire? Because that's the theme of
oh,
tonight's.
I didn't know this. I came late. I came to the show late.
Yeah,
So I thought
this
you
is
were.
the goal is to showcase some image that somebody else other than yourself has. This is really great, and congratulations.
Okay, I didn't realize that when you just said, "Oh, do you have some images to show?" And Um, I, I didn't get here until about 10 after. I couldn't get to my computer before then.
Okay,
Well,
good
all
image.
right. In that case, I'll
All right, any other volunteers? Share image? Well, I have a couple because I figured we wouldn't have a lot of volunteers. So let me share another one with you. You may have seen this before. This is an image of a very popular target that you probably recognize. Um, and the Helix Nebula. This is from Mike Mulcahy. This was published in the Desert Sky Bulletin back in December. So you may have seen it before. This one really caught my attention because of even though it's a very familiar target and we see images of it all the time, this one is significantly better than most that I've seen. When people say it looks like a Hubble image, I would have to say this one looks like a Hubble image. There's that amount of detail. And it's a deep image. It's taken with an ES 127 and an ASI 2600 mono camera with narrowband filters. This is an HOO presentation. But if you look carefully, not only do you see the surrounding nebulosity that sometimes shows up around the main body of the nebula, but there's pretty much nebulosity all around the field here that appears to be associated with the helix. So this is a really, really deep, highly detailed image. And in the comments that he provided with it that were published in the bulletin, he indicated that he had used Sharpen AI. A lot of the Sharpen and AI software gets a bad reputation, but I think in this case, if you look carefully at the central part of the nebula, I think it was a very judicious use of that type of sharpening to bring out the detail which really makes this image stand out. I don't think Mr. Mulcahy is on our call tonight, but this is a very deserving image. Comments?
Greg, I've got another one.
Okay.
Now, this is Craig Harding's image of the Cat's Eye Nebula. It was taken with the C-14 down at CAC. I think this is the one that he was working on so hard when we had our meetup down there and we couldn't see anything. Big telescope certainly, but even with the big telescope, I thought that this was an extraordinarily dramatic image. Both the details certainly, but I would say without any over sharpening. And sometimes images can look a little bit overcooked, and this one doesn't do that. And yet there's tremendous detail at the very center. There's this little like human eye shape here. There's the little bits of color around the perimeter. I just thought it was a spectacular image. He didn't provide any further comment about it. Let me see if he gave us the time. About 7 hours total with a one-shot color camera.
I have to agree with you, Jeff. These types of targets are probably the most difficult to process because you have to actually process two images. The central part, which is extremely bright and tends to oversaturate very quickly. And then how do you get the faint outer structure that goes along with it. So this is a great example of how to do that.
Well, and if anyone wants to know how to do that, call Randy Smith. Randy is the master. In fact, I'm just going to continue, if I may, Greg.
Okay.
Let me, here, easiest to unshare and reshare. Here it is. So speaking of Randy Smith, this is an image that Randy took a few years ago of Sharpless 114, the flying dragon, there in the center of the field. Excuse me. What I found, I was talking earlier about the drama in Dave's image. This is another one that strikes me as a highly dramatic image. I'm going to go back for just a second to look at the details. This was a C11 image without a filter, remarkably. My screen's not letting me, like 2 minutes, 300 minutes, about 5 hours. 2600. Oh, no, I see, not no filter. This was a show or HS. I guess, yeah, Randy, you didn't do oxygen, huh? But I don't think there is any. So this is hydrogen and sulfur with a hyperstar on a C11.
I can't remember doing that at all. That's several years old, isn't it?
It is. This is 4 years old.
Okay.
But quality endures. I don't know why it's not coming back up now. There it is. Come on. There it is. I have tried this image. I completed it. I don't think I've ever shared it with anybody. I just was not happy with the way it came out. I wasn't, it's not about a smaller telescope to be sure, but even so, there's a richness of the hydrogen and sulfur clouds, or that it's mostly hydrogen clouds behind the dragon. I would guess we're not exactly sure what the dragon is. Maybe it's a supernova remnant. But I would, if I recall right, the sulfur tends to run along the edges of the dragon's wings and in that other section to the lower right. But again, beautiful signal, beautiful composition, honest to the wavelengths that are being depicted. So great job, Randy.
Yep, I agree. All right. Well, I have one last one to share with you as well. And you may recognize this one. It's from the guy who was just talking a moment ago. This is Jeff's image that he's been working on. This isn't the one that he published most recently. This is the one he published, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the first iteration.
I liked it a little better than the more recent version, but artistic triumphs over everything else. So whoever wants to can do what they want. This struck me when I see images like this. I think, gee, I think I took a picture with this exact same field, and I went back and looked at mine. And then I looked at this one and I thought, wow, this one blows mine away. And mine was actually published in Sky and Telescope's gallery several years ago. So this one is much, much better for the following reasons. It's a wide field image, and the two bright stars in here are really bright, and they're handled perfectly. They don't take away from what's going on in the rest of the image, which is something that is often a problem when you have bright stars right next to the faint nebula that you're trying to bring out. I'm especially impressed with the contrast, not only with the stars, but with the dark gas clouds in SH2 249, which is the left-hand portion of the image, as well as the IC 443, the jellyfish down at the bottom right. And the fact that Jeff got so much of the O3 to come out with very subtle colors really makes this image stand out from the one that I did with was just an LRGB with a little HA thrown in. So I was really impressed with this one, and I thought it was worthy of mention.
Thank you. You're very kind.
You're very talented. Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions?
I had one. I was going to share a new toy.
Oh, okay.
This is something we talked about down at the meetup. Let's see if I can get this in the field of view here, if it'll focus. There it is. This is a tilt adjuster. It is a small laser with a camera inside. We're never going to get it to focus on the inside. This is an M54 housing, so you set it over M54 rings, camera, filter wheel, whatever. It comes with some software. You place the camera on the table, you rotate this thing around. I have 3 adjusting screws on my camera, so you do every 120 degrees. You can go to their website, they explain the geometry of it all, but the laser is able to measure the distance to each of those 3 points, and from that, determine what the tilt of your sensor is. And it will recommend which screw you should turn to adjust it. And there's a real-time view in the software, so that as you make an adjustment, you can see a little circle moving in toward the middle, which is what you want, or moving further out toward the edge, which is what you don't want. If you go to the website, they say, oh, in 20 minutes, I had my camera completely tilt-free. I probably spent 4 or 5 hours. First of all, figuring out how to use the software, because they wrote a manual for their version 1, and then they completely overhauled the software for version 2, but there's no manual. So you have to read version 1's manual and then figure out, okay, so how does that map into version 2 and piece it together. When I was just about finished, I found a YouTube video that actually went through the version 2 software. So I would commend that to you. I could do a whole talk, which I'm not going to do now, on the challenges I've had trying to get a full frame sensor flat on my rig going back to August of last year. In the ASTAP aberration inspector, I now have what is very close to a perfect square in that image, and I was never close before. So this is something that Alan, it's not terribly expensive. I think with the adapter that you need, it was about $350, including the duty and everything else. So Alan and I have split it. The proposal that we were discussing, that I threw out down at the meetup, was if another person or two would come in on this, we could donate it to the club. This is not something unlike that Wanderer ETA that gets inserted into your imaging tray. This is a one and done or periodic exercise to take your camera off and check the tilt. So it seemed like something that the club ought to own. So if you are playing with a full frame camera or otherwise having challenges with tilt and would like to participate in this, give Alan or me a call.
Would this, Jeff, would this work to adjust a focuser to get the focuser level. At least on Newtonians, they typically have tilt adjustments built into the focusers. So you
I
have
have
that
not
plus.
seen any description of this being used on a newt. Initially, they sold it just to get mounted on the camera. Then they said, well, you could actually put it on top of your filter wheel and your rotator, everything, your flattener, whatever you want. You just need the right size adapter. And they've even experimented putting it on the front of a refractor. Whether you could figure out some way that, I guess the challenge is it's going to be center mounted. So I think it would be very hard because you're shooting in the beam from outside the telescope. I think it would be very tough to figure out a way to do that on a newt.
Okay.
What's it called again?
It's the company is Astro Precision out of Norway. So I think it's astroprecision.no, and the product is called Tilt Adjuster.
Jeff,
Two
do you
guys.
think, would this be worthwhile on chips smaller than full size, or?
If you're having tilt issues, sure. It's just that the full size pretty much guarantees you're going to have tilt issues.
But it cured yours.
Sure seems like it. And I mean, at one level, none of us need this because Blur Exterminator takes care of this. And I had really terrible tilt. I didn't even have elliptical stars at the periphery. My stars looked like comets. And Blur Exterminator still took care of it. How accurate that is, I don't know. My goal was start with the best data that I can get so that the software doesn't have to work as hard.
Very good. Other comments or questions? Hearing none, let me remind everyone, if you would like to have your image in the Desert Sky Bulletin, which goes out to the entire Tucson amateur astronomy community, not just the forum, but the entire community, you need to give me permission to put those in there. So I know we have some new members who've posted images on the TAA forum, but if you want, I can't, without your permission, take your image and put it in the bulletin. So if you're a new person who's just begun to share images with us and you'd like to see your images shared with others in the bulletin, please send those along to me and tell me that it's okay to use your images. If that's the case, then I'll know that it's okay and you may see your image show up in the bulletin. Doesn't necessarily mean that you will, but you won't unless I have permission.
I got a question. Is it too late to submit for next month's bulletin?
No, we have until the 28th.
Until the 28th. Okay, good.
I will tell you, however, that I don't wait until the 28th to turn those in. So if you send me something on the 28th, it probably won't be in the bulletin. You need to send it in as soon as possible.
Okay, so I've got a couple for you this time.
Okay, our next meeting will be the third Monday of June, which is this next coming month, will be June 15th. Sometime between now and then, Jeff I will get back with you and talk to you about this year's monsoon challenge. It may be a little different this year, so be sure to keep your eyes open on the forum for information about this year's monsoon challenge. Okay, thanks everyone, and good luck with getting some images before the clouds roll in. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.